There is a battle taking place, not in the streets or on the battlefield, but in a realm that is unseen by the eye and untouched by the hand. It is the battle of the mind, and its consequences are eternal. To train your mind to stay calm in any situation, you must first understand that the battle you face is not primarily emotional or circumstantial. It is spiritual. Behind every panic is a lie. Behind every anxiety is a whisper of darkness. Behind every wave of fear is the breath of the enemy. The calmness of the mind is not merely about mental control. It is about spiritual authority. And until you recognize that your struggles are rooted in the spiritual realm, you will continue to fight the wrong enemy with the wrong weapons. From the beginning, the adversary has sought not merely to strike the body, but to infiltrate the thoughts. It was in the garden that the serpent did not strike Eve with a sword, but with a suggestion, a question, a subtle thought. Did God really say? And with that thought came a cascade of doubt, of fear, of shame. The fall did not begin with the hand. It began with the mind. That is the ancient strategy of the enemy: plant a seed in the mind and let it grow into disobedience, anxiety, despair. If he can gain your mind, he will soon have your heart, your decisions, your destiny. So the first step in training your mind to remain calm in every storm is to unmask the true nature of the war. Your battle is not with people, not with your employer, your spouse, your children, your government. It is not with the economy or the culture or your critics. Your battle is against principalities and powers, against rulers of darkness, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And because the battle is spiritual, the calmness of mind must be spiritual as well. You cannot calm the spirit with fleshly means. No self-help mantra can rebuke a demon. No motivational quote can silence the accuser of the brethren. You need the sword of the Spirit, the shield of faith, the helmet of salvation. The Word reveals that the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. And where are those strongholds? In the mind. Arguments, imaginations, high things that exalt themselves against the knowledge of God. These are not random thoughts. These are strongholds. Fortresses of deception built brick by brick in your thinking. They tell you that you're not enough, that you've failed too many times, that God has abandoned you, that you're alone. And these strongholds must be torn down, not by logic, but by truth. The truth of the Word of God, the unshakable reality of His promises. So when the storm comes, you must look past the surface. The waves are not the threat. The wind is not the enemy. The real attack is what those waves and winds are trying to do to your mind. Fear seeks to enter. Panic tries to take hold. Doubt creeps in. But if you recognize the true enemy, then you can resist him. You can take every thought captive. You can say, this thought does not align with the Word. This fear is not from God. This anxiety is a lie. And as you expose the deception, its power begins to break. But you cannot win a spiritual battle if you are not equipped in the Spirit. This is why the Messiah often withdrew to lonely places to pray. It was not weakness. It was strategy. He knew that to walk in peace among storms, he had to be filled with the Spirit. And so must you. To remain calm in chaos, your life must be built upon the foundation of the Word. You must meditate on it day and night. Not occasionally, not when convenient, but daily, continually. Let the Word saturate your thoughts, renew your mind, wash over your soul. You cannot have a calm mind if you feed it with the noise of the world. If your mind is filled with news headlines, social media outrage, and worldly opinions, then your peace will always be unstable. But if your mind is fed by the Word, strengthened by prayer, and guarded by truth, then you will be immovable. Not because the storm is absent, but because the anchor is stronger than the wind. This is what David understood when he said, "Why are you downcast, O my soul? Hope in God." He spoke to his soul. He challenged his emotions. He redirected his mind. He knew the battle was not outside. It was inside. And he fought it not with denial, but with truth. And so must you. Speak to your thoughts. Rebuke the fear. Declare the promises. Remind yourself of who you are and whose you are. You are not a victim. You are a child of the King. You are not a slave to fear. You are more than a conqueror. You are not overwhelmed. You are overshadowed by the Most High. There is power in the name of the Lord, and that power can calm any storm, not just around you, but within you. When Elijah stood on the mountain, the wind came, and the fire, and the earthquake, but God was not in them. Then came the still small voice, the peace, the calm. And it was in that stillness that the prophet found his strength. You do not need louder noise. You need deeper stillness. You do not need a bigger answer. You need a clear whisper. When you train your mind to discern the spiritual nature of your battles, then you will begin to respond not with panic, but with authority. When fear knocks, you will answer with faith. When confusion whispers, you will speak the word. When anxiety rises, you will declare the name of the Lord, and let his peace guard your heart and your mind. This is not a technique. It is a way of life. It is a discipline. It is spiritual warfare. The calm mind is not born from comfort, but from clarity, from knowing who fights for you, from recognizing that greater is he who is in you than he who is in the world. The storm may rage, the enemy may roar, but your mind, guarded by truth, filled with the Spirit, anchored in the Word, will remain unshaken. And when others fall apart, you will stand firm. When others scream, you will whisper peace. When others run, you will remain, because you have trained your mind not to live by what you see, but by what you know, not by what surrounds you, but by who is within you. And in every situation, your calmness will be your witness. Your stillness will be your sermon. Your peace will be your power. And the world will ask, "What manner of man is this, that even the winds and the waves obey him?" And you will know, it is not you, but the one who lives in you. There is a secret that the world does not understand, a truth hidden in plain sight yet, veiled from the eyes of the restless. It is the mystery of anchoring your thoughts, not in the temporary, but in the eternal. The world teaches you to live by what you see, to react to what you feel, to be moved by what surrounds you. But that is the way of the natural man, not the spiritual. If you would have a mind that is calm in the fire, that does not waver in the flood, then your thoughts must be rooted not in the moment, but in the everlasting. For everything that you see is passing away. The storm is temporary. The pain is temporary. The conflict, the confusion, the noise of this present age, all of it is fading. But what is unseen is eternal. What is rooted in the heavens cannot be shaken by the earth. You were not called to be like a leaf blown by the wind, shifting with every storm. You were called to be like Mount Zion, unmovable, unshakable, grounded in truth. The only way to remain calm in the chaos is to rise above the chaos. And the only way to rise above is to lift your thoughts higher, to set your mind on things above, not on things below. For as long as your mind is anchored in the things of this world, you will be ruled by them. If your peace is tied to your income, it will vanish when the bank account dips. If your calm is tied to your relationships, it will falter when people fail you. If your joy is tied to the approval of man, it will crumble with the criticism of man. But if your mind is anchored in what is eternal, unchanging, incorruptible, secured in heaven, then nothing on earth will have the power to shake you. There is a reason the scripture says you are to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Not conformed to this age, but made new by a different focus, a different foundation. The world is unstable because it builds on sand. But you are called to build on the rock. And the rock is not your success, not your reputation, not your understanding. The rock is the word, the truth, the eternal promises of God. Heaven and earth will pass away, but his word will never pass away. So then, if your thoughts are fixed on his word, your peace will remain even as the world crumbles. The prophets of old knew this. When the armies surrounded them, they looked not to the chariots of men, but to the armies of heaven. When the people bowed to idols, they stood alone because their minds were anchored in a kingdom not of this world. The Mesha taught this mystery when he said not to worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. How could he say such a thing? Because he knew the Father was eternal. He knew the plan was unshakable. He knew that every hair was numbered, every tear recorded, every need already known. So the key to a calm mind is not merely controlling your thoughts, but elevating them. Lift them out of the temporary and plant them in eternity. When trouble comes, ask not, what does this mean for me now? But, what does this mean in light of eternity? Will this problem still matter a year from now? Will it matter 10,000 years from now when you stand in the presence of glory? Suddenly, the things that once brought panic lose their power. The insult, the loss, the rejection, they are but passing shadows. But the promises of God are substance, and they endure forever. This is why the enemy wants your mind fixed on the here and now. Because if he can make you live for the moment, he can make you forget the eternal. If he can trap you in the urgency of the temporary, he can blind you to the security of the everlasting. But when you step back and see with heaven's eyes, you realize that your trial is not the end. It is a doorway. Your storm is not your destruction. It is your preparation. And the calmness of your mind becomes your testimony that you belong to another kingdom. The saints who endured persecution, who faced lions, who walked through fire, were not calm because they enjoyed suffering. They were calm because their thoughts were not chained to this world. They saw a city with foundations whose builder and maker is God. They looked not at the furnace, but at the fourth man in the fire. They looked not at the executioner's sword, but at the crown of life. Their peace was not of this world, because their minds were not of this world. And so must you live. Set your mind on things eternal. Speak to your thoughts. Redirect them daily. When fear arises, say to yourself, this is not eternal. When the news shakes the nations, say, this too shall pass, but his kingdom shall have no end. When everything around you feels unstable, remember that you are receiving a kingdom that cannot be shaken. And that kingdom must govern your mind, your peace, your reactions. The calm mind is the fruit of an eternal perspective. It is not that the pain disappears. It is that the pain is seen in its true context. A light and momentary affliction, preparing for you a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. This is the mystery that baffles the world. That peace can exist in pain. That calm can reign in crisis. That a mind fixed on the eternal can walk through the temporary without being consumed. Let your mind be like the sanctuary of the temple, where the chaos of the outer courts is silenced, and the presence of the Most High dwells in holy stillness. Let your thoughts be like incense rising to the throne, pure and lifted up. Let your focus be on the Lamb, not on the wolves, on the shepherd, not on the shadows, on the victory already won, not the battles that rage today. Every day you are given a choicing to anchor your thoughts in the dust or in the heavens, to dwell on what is fading, or to fix your eyes on what will never fade. The world will always offer reasons to panic, but eternity offers one reason to stay calm. He reigns. And if he reigns, then nothing can dethrone your peace. No diagnosis, no betrayal, no failure, no loss. Because your thoughts are hidden with Christ in God, and in him there is no shadow of turning. Train your mind to look beyond the veil, beyond the report, beyond the moment. And there, in the place where time gives way to eternity, your calm will be unbreakable. Not because the storm ceased, but because your anchor held. Not because you understood everything, but because you trusted the one who does. And when others fall in fear, you will walk in peace, a bearing witness to a kingdom that is not of this world. In the midst of the storm, there is a place untouched. In the roar of confusion, there is a silence deeper than sound. In a world of endless noise, distraction, and chaos, there remains a holy realm, hidden from the eyes of the flesh, yet nearer than breath. It is the secret place, the inner chamber, the dwelling of the Most High. And if you would train your mind to stay calm in every situation, then you must learn the discipline of entering that place, shutting out the noise, and abiding in the presence that stills every storm. The calmness of the mind is not sustained by willpower or routine alone. It is sustained by intimacy, by communion, by the stillness that comes only from being with God in the hidden place. The world shouts. The enemy accuses. The flesh complains. But the Spirit invites. The secret place is not a location in geography. It is a condition of the soul. It is the Holy of Holies within, the meeting place between man and God. It is the realm the prophets entered when the people rebelled, the place the Messiah retreated to before every major moment, the space where burdens are lifted and peace is poured out like oil. The noise of life cannot follow you there. The lies of the enemy cannot speak there. The weight of anxiety cannot breathe there. For in the secret place, there is only one voice, one presence, one truth. And it silences every other. But to enter the secret place, you must first silence the noise around you and the noise within you. The chaos of the world is not just external. It becomes internalized through your eyes, your ears, your thoughts. Every headline, every complaint, every demand becomes a brick in the wall of anxiety. And that wall must be torn down. You must quiet your mind. Turn off the distractions. Withdraw not just physically, but spiritually. There are moments when you must retreat, when you must say to the world, wait, and to the Spirit, speak. You must cultivate a habit of entering into solitude, not as an escape, but as a meeting. Not to run from life, but to be refilled for it. In the days of old, the tabernacle was surrounded by noise. The marketplace, the camp, the people. But inside the veil was silence. There, the lampstand burned continually. The altar of incense offered up its fragrance. The ark of the covenant rested under the wings of the cherubim. And the glory dwelled there. The glory did not dwell in the noise. It dwelled in the silence. And so it is with your mind. The calmness you seek will not be found in endless talking, reacting, solving. It will be found in beholding, in waiting, in listening, in stillness. For he says, be still and know that I am God. Not be busy, not be loud, but be still. And only in stillness will you truly know. The secret place is the place of recalibration. It is where your spirit is reminded of what is eternal. It is where your identity is reaffirmed. It is where your thoughts are reordered according to truth. Outside, the world screams, you're not enough, you're failing, you're losing. But in the secret place, the Father whispers, you are mine, you are chosen, you are beloved. And that whisper, though gentle, carries more weight than the shouting of 10,000 voices. But to hear it, you must draw near. You must enter in, not as a visitor, but as a dweller. The calmness of your mind cannot be separated from the consistency of your time in the secret place. A heart disconnected from the presence of God will inevitably be overwhelmed by the presence of trouble. But a heart that dwells in the shelter of the Most High will abide under the shadow of the Almighty. And in that shadow, there is peace. In that shadow, there is security. In that shadow, there is clarity. The storm may still rage outside, but it cannot reach the soul that hides in the cleft of the rock. This is why the Messiah rose early, before the sun, and withdrew to lonely places. Not because he was weak, but because he knew the strength came from the secret. Before facing crowds, he sought communion. Before teaching others, he listened to the Father. Before walking through conflict, he stood in the presence. And if he, the sinless one, needed that place of silence, how much more do we? You cannot walk in calmness if you do not sit in stillness. You cannot pour out peace if you are not filled with it. And you cannot be filled unless you draw near to the source. The world will not invite you into silence. It will demand your attention, your reaction, your energy. It will pull at your thoughts, your emotions, your focus. But you must resist. You must build your life around the presence, not the pressure. You must prioritize the invisible over the visible. You must fight to preserve your moments of stillness, because in them lies the power to endure every wave. Those who abide in the secret place do not panic, because they have already encountered the one who sees the end from the beginning. Those who dwell in silence do not fear, because they have already heard the voice that calms the sea. When you dwell in the secret place, the storms of life lose their power to overwhelm you, because you are no longer defined by what happens to you, but by who is with you. You are no longer living in reaction, but in revelation. Your peace is not circumstantial. It is relational. It comes not from what you know, but from who you know. And the more time you spend in the secret place, the more your mind is transformed. Panic gives way to purpose. Fear gives way to faith. Noise gives way to knowing. So shut the door. Not just physically, but spiritually. Shut the door to fear. Shut the door to distraction. Shut the door to every voice that contradicts the word. And open your heart to the whisper, to the still small voice, to the one who speaks in silence. Make time for the secret place, not as an obligation, but as a lifeline. Because your calmness will never rise higher than your communion. Your peace will never surpass your prayer. Your strength will never exceed your stillness. You are not called to live on the surface. You are called to dwell in the deep. The surface is where the wind blows, where the waves rise. But in the depths, there is stillness. And if your soul is rooted deep in Him, then the surface cannot shake you. The secret place is where that depth is formed. It is where roots grow. It is where the foundation is laid. And when the foundation is secure, the storm can beat against the house, but it will not fall. Let your mind become a temple. Let your thoughts be purified. Let your inner world become a sanctuary where His presence dwells continually. This is not about a feeling. It is about a reality. Even if you don't feel it, He is there. Even when the silence seems empty, it is full of Him. And in time, you will find that the very place you once avoided becomes the place you cannot live without. Silence is not weakness. It is wisdom. Stillness is not laziness. It is strength. And calmness is not ignorance. It is insight. Insight that comes from the secret place, from seeing the invisible, from hearing the eternal. If you want a mind that is unshakable, then you must build it in the presence of the unshakable one. If you want to stand in the storm, you must sit in the stillness. If you want to speak peace, you must hear it first in the quiet. This is the way. The path of the prophets, the discipline of the saints, the pattern of the Messiah, not in the crowd, but in the closet, not in the chaos, but in the communion, not in the noise, but in the nearness. And from that place will flow a peace that the world cannot take away, a calmness that no trial can steal, a strength that does not shout, but stands. And in the end, you will walk not as one who merely survives, but as one who has seen the face of God and lives. In the world, peace is seen as the absence of trouble, a fragile stillness that vanishes at the first sign of conflict. But in the kingdom, peace is not the absence of trouble, it is the presence of power. It is not a fragile state to be protected. It is a mighty weapon to be wielded. The calm mind is not merely a mental luxury, it is a spiritual strategy. If you are to train your mind to stay calm in every situation, you must understand this mystery that peace is not your shelter alone, it is your sword. It is not only your defense, it is your offense. It is not only your covering in the storm, it is your weapon in the storm. A peace is not weak, it is warfare. And when you choose to walk in peace, you are engaging in a form of spiritual resistance that confuses the enemy and shifts the atmosphere. The enemy thrives on agitation. His realm is confusion, his power flows through chaos. His goal is to disturb, to disrupt, to pull you out of the place of trust into the place of reaction. He cannot touch the presence of God, so he targets your mind to pull you away from it. He knows that when you are calm, you can hear. When you are still, you can discern. When you are at peace, you are dangerous, because peace invites clarity, and clarity reveals truth, and truth exposes lies. So he will stir the waters, whisper lies, magnify threats, provoke your emotions, and flood your soul with noise, all to rob your peace. Because if he can take your peace, he can gain ground. But if you hold your peace, you hold your ground. In ancient times, when a warrior was trained, he was taught not only to fight but to stand. Not to panic in the clash, not to lose his footing when the battle raged, but to remain grounded, steady, unmoved. So it is in the spiritual. Peace is what anchors you. It keeps you from being tossed back and forth. It keeps your sword steady and your vision clear. It is the ground on which you stand. That is why the armor of God includes the shoes of peace. Not sandals of distraction, not boots of anxiety, but the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. Your peace is what gives you the ability to move forward. Without it, you stumble. But with it, you advance. You step over fear. You walk through fire. You trample on serpents. Because your feet are grounded in peace, and peace does not retreat. There is a mystery in the life of the Messiah. He never hurried. He never panicked. He never reacted in fear. Even when the boat was filling with water and his disciples were shouting in terror, he remained asleep. Why? Because his peace was not tied to the storm. It was tied to his Father. His calm was not a sign of ignorance. It was a sign of authority. And when he rose, he did not match the panic of the moment. He did not rebuke the disciples first. He rebuked the wind. He spoke to the sea. Peace. Be still. Because what was within him governed what was around him. And so it must be with you. Let the peace within you rule the world around you. Do not let the storm dictate your state. Let your state dictate the storm. The world will tell you that when you are calm, you are weak. That if you don't react, you are losing. But the truth is the opposite. When you react, you give power to the problem. When you respond in panic, you lose clarity, you lose discernment, you lose ground. But when you stay calm, you see clearly. You respond with wisdom. You remain under the covering of the Spirit. And your calmness becomes a testimony. Others panic, but you remain. Others tremble, but you are still. Others fight in the flesh, but you war in the Spirit. And your calmness speaks louder than your words. It declares that your peace is not from the world, and therefore cannot be taken by it. The world does not need more noise. It needs more stillness. It does not need more panic. It needs more people who carry peace like a torch through the darkness. A peace that does not bend under pressure. Peace that does not fade under fire. Peace that comes from the throne of God and passes understanding. This peace is not natural. It is supernatural. It is not learned through theory. It is birthed through intimacy. You cannot fake it. You cannot manufacture it. You must receive it from the Prince of Peace himself. And once you receive it, you must guard it. Guard your peace like a warrior guards his sword. Do not let every opinion steal it. Do not let every challenge shake it. Do not let every offense remove it. When you feel it slipping, go back to the source. Go back to the secret place. Go back to the Word. Go back to the promises. For it is written, you will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you. Not whose circumstances are perfect, but whose mind is stayed. Your peace is connected to your focus. If you fix your eyes on the storm, you will sink. But if you fix your eyes on the Savior, you will walk above the waves. Let peace become your response. When others attack, respond in peace. When the future looks uncertain, choose peace. When your name is slandered, hold your peace. When the pressure mounts, stay rooted in peace. Not because you don't feel the weight, but because you know who carries it for you. Not because the situation is light, but because your burden has already been laid at the feet of the one who said, come to me, and I will give you rest. And in that rest, you find strength. In that rest, you find victory. In that rest, your calmness becomes your strategy. Peace changes the atmosphere. When you walk into a room filled with tension and you carry peace, you shift the environment. When a crisis arises and you respond in peace, you diffuse the chaos. When others are overwhelmed and you remain steady, your presence becomes a refuge. This is not weakness. It is warfare. Because you are not reacting to the enemy's noise. You are responding to the Spirit's voice. And that voice speaks not in earthquakes, not in fire, but in the still small whisper that breaks the power of fear. If you want to win the battle of the mind, let peace be your weapon. Let it silence the lies. Let it still the anxiety. Let it crush the fear. Let it guard your heart and mind like a fortress. Not a fortress you build, but one you abide in. The fortress of His faithfulness. The stronghold of His love. The unshakable truth that He is with you, He is for you, and He has already overcome. And if He has overcome, then you can stand in peace no matter what comes against you. You were not called to survive the storm. You were called to speak to it. You were not made to be shaken. You were made to shine. And the calmness of your mind will be the light that pierces the darkness, the strength that leads others home, the testimony that reveals the kingdom within you. So do not lay down your peace. Do not surrender it to fear. Do not trade it for comfort. Wear it like armor. Walk in it like a path. Wield it like a sword. And let the world see, through your calmness, the power of the Prince of Peace.